Hi guys. Okay, it's Cookie here, and this is the first time I have ever touched on a topic like this publicly, I guess I should say. But this video is about mental health awareness and illness, for that matter. There's been a lot going on with the Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain suicide, and I just feel like in our generation and society, we just don't put the importance on mental health that much. And I think we should. There's a lot that people go through on a day-to-day basis, and we've made it so cool to be strong that people feel like they can't call out for help when they truly need it. So the reason why I decided to talk about this topic is kind of hits close to home. If you ran across this video and don't know anything about the little weird girl with green hair, I'm a personal trainer. My brand is Body by Cookie. I've been a personal trainer for about 5 years now, and I went from 98 pounds to 130 the natural way through nutrition and the gym, through fitness. So that's kind of how that started. And then about halfway through, so about 2.5 years ago, I really started focusing on the personal journey, because I feel like, you get into your fitness journey and then it kind of leads into a personal journey, because every single day, day in and day out, you're worried about making sure you're eating the right foods to be nutritious to your body, drinking enough water, getting enough rest, you're going to the gym working out. So it's just like you're doing all this stuff, putting yourself first and working on yourself, that eventually you have no choice but to fall into the personal journey, because you're kind of already doing that anyway. And I started spending a lot of time focusing on me, and my inner demons that I needed to deal with, that quite frankly I didn't even know I really had. Not to that extent at all, for sure. And I want to say that was the best decision I've ever made in my life. So a little backstory. I started my fitness journey because I was depressed and didn't know it. College was hard because I was bullied, and I never let it be known or showed it, but it really got to me at the time. And I was just happy. I'm a very free, giving, loving person when I level up hard. And I loved a lot of the wrong people. That's both in friends and relationships. And I got taken advantage of emotionally, and people don't think that that's traumatizing or hard and all that, but it was, and I went through a lot of it. And so I found myself, I'm a social person, but I found myself in my room with the shades drawn 9 times out of 10. I'd go to work, I worked in endorsements at the time, and then I'd come home and just be in bed. And there were a lot of times I wasn't even eating because I didn't want to get out of bed. I felt like it was just too far, too long, too much. And yeah. Just recording. Cool. Someone is recording. And I hit a day and it was just like, Sean, what are we doing? What's going on? I'd be on Instagram and I would see all this stuff about big butts, and like most people, I wanted one. I didn't have one because I was 98 pounds. I think maybe around that time I was like in the hundreds, but it was like low hundreds. And that's not because I was eating, it's because I wasn't eating, so my body was holding on to that fat and I was gaining weight and it just didn't even look right. And I started doing research on different workouts to help the butt grow, and what foods to eat, and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then I'd go to the gym, because the gym in my apartment complex was 24 hours. It was a really, really nice gym too. So I would just go and just sit. Sometimes I didn't even work out, I would just sit, and I'd be like, okay, I'd attempt. I'd like go and try a few things and make note of like what I felt when I did that, or this, not a full workout, kind of just like testing different machines, because I was using a lot of machines in ways that they weren't supposed to be used. So I was testing things, and I make note, this and that, blah, 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 and kind of did that for a minute, and then one day I was okay, I got all the information, I did all the research, let's go. And I went and I just killed it, and that was the beginning of the Booty Doctor. And, it was cool, this and that, blah, 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 and around the time that I was starting my fitness journey, that semester was the hardest semester I ever had, because there was a dude who I was dating at the time who I found out had a girlfriend I was unaware of. And then there were things I told him in secrecy, because he was a dude I was dating who I really cared about and loved, and was going out telling people this stuff, and I was having people text me these things, just like, how the fuck do you even know that? Because I only told one person. And I was already hurt and betrayed by the person, because I found out they had a girlfriend, and on campus I was known as his girlfriend. So it was just a lot of like mentally challenging things. And I was also taking a domestic violence and policy class, and the class pretty much just taught you how the policies protect people who are domestic violence victims or survivors. And there's not really much that they do, honestly. And it was a hard semester for me, because most people don't know that I've dealt with domestic violence. And it was from someone close to me. So it was, mentally abusive and physically abusive and emotionally abusive. And it was just a hard semester, because I was just raised in a family where it's just like, you just don't talk about what's wrong. You put on this front, you put on this costume and go into the world and make it seem like everything is perfect. So I was mentally conditioned that way, so I didn't even really acknowledge the fact that it was domestic violence. Like, I knew at one point in time I just got tired of it, and I threatened to call the police, this and that. Mind you, I was younger, and that was that. I didn't realize until I was taking this class and meeting these survivors that it hit me that I had overcome domestic violence. So that's just a lot to deal with in a semester. So like I said, that's kind of how it started, because I hit my lowest point. And, it's just... So like around this time, and maybe for like a year and a half after this, maybe 2 years, I anytime somebody would try me, so I felt, I would be really aggressive. And I was watching Basketball Wives, and Jackie was talking about this. And if you've watched any of the previous seasons of Basketball Wives, no one understood Jackie. We didn't understand her as to why she was so aggressive all the time. And then she's having this therapy session, she's explaining why. And it's just like, wow, I can relate to you so much, because that's why I was so aggressive, is we needed control. When you've ever suffered domestic violence or mental abuse or emotional abuse or physical abuse, any of that, you lash out because you feel the need to control something because something happened to you where you didn't have it. And it's like, wow, okay. And then like I said, with all this stuff going on with suicides, it's just like, this is a part of your story and a part of your journey, and you never have talked about it. I think it's about time you talk about it. And I hate to be that person crying on camera, sorry. I'm gonna get it together real quick. Okay. Yeah, just think it's time to talk about it, because I was able to overcome all of this and find my strength in my voice and understanding that not everything deserves a reaction. Some things it's just okay to just note and let it be known and be that. And once you start that pursuit of happiness, as cliche as it sounds, you realize that there's just so much you can't control, and it's just better and free to just let things go. And you start to spend a lot of time with yourself, and you're just happy, you know? And when you're just happy, there's just a lot of things that just don't matter, because you realize there are a lot of other people out here who are just going through their own struggles and journeys. So a lot of times when they do something, it's not even personal. It's because they're unhappy with themselves, and there's some demons that they haven't faced. But there's just not enough talk about when you're going through this, what you can do, who you can contact, how can you overcome this. Like, I've had some pretty traumatizing situations in my life. Like I said, I explained the domestic violence and the mental and physical abuse, and a lot of people don't know. Give me a second. A lot of people don't know that a couple years ago, I was stuck in an elevator on New Year's Eve, and we were going to a party to bring in the new year. I was with my sisters and a group of friends, and this lady and her, I don't know if it was a grandson or her son or what, get off, because she was kind of with her. And then we all get on, and then they get back on. I remember everyone was like, what the hell? She just got off the elevator. Why is she getting back on? And then as the doors are closing, you see a security guard shaking his head. And at the time it makes sense, but he was shaking his head because he thought it was way too many people in the elevator, because there was 11 of us on the little elevator. But if he felt like that, he should have said something. So we're going up the elevator, it gets off, it hits the 3rd floor, the door is open. And the lady gets off, and as the lady gets off, before her son or grandson can get off, the elevator starts to slowly descend. And then there was a guy on there who freaked out, because we were all freaking out, because we're like, oh my god, the elevator's falling, the doors are open, and we just don't know what's going on. He freaked out, and his first instinct was to jump. At the exact same time that he jumped, the elevator started plunging, meaning it started going faster. And just a disclaimer, it's kind of graphic, so if you do not want to hear the specifics of this, then stop now, turn away, get off the video. I'll put in the description exactly what part you can pick up back on that goes past this, so that way you can finish the story without hearing this. Just a disclaimer. Like I said, it began to plunge, and like I said, he jumped. So at the fact that the way he plunged, he got stuck in between the elevator shaft and the elevator, meaning the top half of his body was on the 3rd floor. The second half of his body was in the elevator with us. The elevator stopped because of his body. So he was kind of, and I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way to the family or anything, but just imagine what a doorstop does to a door. That's what his body had done to the elevator. And we're sitting here, and it takes you a minute to realize that we're stuck in the elevator, 1. 2, this guy is stuck in the elevator, literally. And you're just like, it's hard to process. And we have a little kid on the elevator, and everyone's panicking. And me and my sisters, because we've all gone through our own traumatizing situations, whenever something traumatizing happens, we just go into mother mode. So we're calming people down from hyperventilating, protecting the kid because he's screaming this guy's gonna die, and just taking control of the situation and doing the best we can to keep the elevator calm, so that way people aren't freaking, because people are jumping up and down, and mind you, this guy is, so I pressed the fire button, and I explained to them that we're stuck in the elevator, this not blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, the fluids are starting to leave his body, and we're like, it's been a minute, what's going on? I'll call again. They told me that they had dispatched an ambulance, and then because it was just us being stuck in the elevator on New Year's Eve in New York, something that apparently happens a lot, they canceled it. So when I called again, they sent out another one. But it's like, at this point, it's like, I don't think you're understanding, like, a man's life is at jeopardy here. Like, this is urgent. Then, fast forward a bit, we get rescued, and they're able to open doors. We had to jump down a little bit because it was stuck in between 2 floors, Everybody gets off. They're able to pull the man out and lay him on the third floor. No one was allowed on the third floor. No one was allowed in the stairwell. We're all here. You hear him say something. I don't know exactly what it was he said. And then his body went into cardiac arrest and he passed away. Mind you, his girlfriend of a really long time was on the elevator, so trying to console her with her heartbreak and understanding everything's going on, is happening. Then, as we're walking down the stairs, I have an officer, like, I think I've seen you somewhere, and this, that, blah, blah, blah. Still to this day, there is not an official count of everyone who was on the elevator. Documented. We know, because we've all reached out to each other for the most part, and we know who was in the elevator. They did a piss poor job. When they rescued us, there were two ambulance teams or whatever, because of the confusion of being dispatched and canceled, this and that, blah, blah, blah. They had brought his body down to the lobby, and there's people going in there because they hadn't closed the doors. It was mayhem. And in the moment, it didn't register what was going on, and then the exact moment we went outside after being questioned, and then I had to tell the officer who was trying to get at me, yo, I was just on the elevator. Oh, you were? And then trying to get people's ID. It's like, why? If you're here on this touchy situation like this, is your first thought, let me holler at this chick? Like, I can't. So me and my sisters get back to my sister's spot, and we just start crying. Me and Corinne, that's my baby sister, both cope with things the same way, and that's silence. So we're quiet. We don't talk about it. We don't say anything. We're trying to process exactly what the fuck we just saw. My other sister, Crystal, the middle one, her way of coping with things is talking about it. So she called my parents instantly and explaining things, and it was just too much for Corinne and I to bear. I was having nightmares. I couldn't sleep. I'm still to this day, and this was, I want to say 2015 going into 16. I'm still to this day scared of elevators. The moment an elevator stalls, I panic. Because that was the first time in my life ever I witnessed someone lose their life. It's hard to deal with. So you can just imagine the mental damage that did. And had tried counseling for a second, and it was going well until the investigation happened, because that elevator alone had about 30 complaints in December alone about it needing to be looked at and all that stuff. So everyone was suing, and all of us hopped into the suit. Then the detectives start calling, and they're asking all these questions, and you're constantly reliving it over and over and over again. I was just like, I can't do this. I'm not healed enough to keep reliving this over and over and over again. So I opted out. I was like, I don't want to be a part of the suit. Yes, fuck them for not taking care of the elevator, and it's sad that it took someone losing their life to do it, but I cannot keep reliving it. I wasn't ready. And, you know, some of us, like me and one of my friends, Javon, we talk about it a little bit, but it was too touchy for us to really talk about it. And then there was a point where I had reached a little more healing than he had, and it was just, you know, how I felt too much. So, like I said, I cope in silence. So I coped, and then, you know, I went back home, and at the time I was living with my parents, and things were cool. I didn't realize all that was wrong and all that I needed to fix and face until I moved out on my own and got a studio. And, you know, like I said, it was my first time living on my own with no one. So I was spending a lot of time by myself, and during this, you are faced with your demons in the silence. So that's when I started my 2-a-days. I work on the morning, work it at night, because it was like my way of like therapy and dealing with things and just finding that release. That's why I was doing it so much. People thought I was just a gym rat, which I fucking am. But that's why, is it's therapy for me. And I went through a lot, you know, and it's my first time living on my own. It's the first time I really dove into my business. I didn't have a job outside of training and doing at the time a little bit of online, not even a lot, and I was young and I was still trying to figure things out. I just didn't know, and you know, people didn't even know that I ended up getting evicted out of that place. And that's hard to talk about because it's like, fuck, I took the leap in faith and I wanted to pursue my dreams, and fuck, I hit rock bottom. I fell hard. And it was hard going back home with my parents because they didn't really want me to do training solely anyway. So that's the reason I moved out. It's because it started taking a serious toll on our relationship. So having to bite that bullet and suck up my pride and going back home and say, hey, I'm gonna be back for a few months because I got evicted, you know. And even the story of how it happened, like, things happen, you know. I went out of town, and then when I got back after the first and wasn't paying attention to the fact that the first had passed. Like I said, I was young. And I missed rent, and I was like, oh, fuck. Okay, woo. But usually when you're a few days late, like most of us have been before, you get a notice that if you don't pay by this date, you get get charged a late fee, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Well, it had been 3 days or 4 days past the initial first, the day that rent was due. And they did not give me a notice. They gave me a notice, but they gave me an eviction notice. They give me a notice of, hey, if you don't pay by, I want to say at that place, it was like the 15th or something, you have to pay a late fee. If it's by the 10th, you have to pay a late fee, and then by the 15th, you're out. They didn't give that. On the 4th day, I got an eviction notice, and then I was like, oh, what the fuck? So I called corporate, and I was like, yeah, no, this is out of control, especially all the shit that I've dealt with here, and having to pay for my own plumbing. It was a ratty ass place, and there was too much I had to do by myself because maintenance didn't do shit. So then I was like, okay, I left a voicemail, I called every day, and I was just like, I have the money, so I'm gonna pay it. So I went, got a cashier's check, paid it. They wouldn't take the money because at this point they said the eviction has already been filed, they have to go through with it. It's like, okay. So that was irritating, and then I'm going back home, and I think at the time I had like $4,000 in my account, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go home. You know, mom and dad said I can stay for a few months. I'm like, I'm gonna save this, not blah, blah, blah. But they lived super far out. They lived like on a good day, an hour and a half. And that was a good from where I worked and everything I was doing in the valley. So then I spent most of that money on gas. So it was like, it went from staying here for a few months to finding a good spot, this, that, blah, 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 to now I don't know when I'm moving out because I don't have the money because I've used all of it for travel and commute. Then my sisters moved out, you know. I went and was with them for a minute. At that point, literally was just saving and stacking because it's like, okay, they're closer, so I get to stack up that money again, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And then I got back to where I was and put over $4,000 in my account, and then I was like, I love you guys, I'm out, and boom. But like I said, there's just a lot that people go through and deal with it. You just don't know. And I feel like, you know, there are a lot of signs that people can pick up on. Like I said, I cope in silence, so a lot of people didn't realizing I was backing away and being quiet, not because I felt like our friendship drifted or anything like that, but because I was going through stuff and didn't know how to verbalize it and say that I needed help, I needed a support team, I needed a shoulder to lean on, because I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be judged, or I don't know what people are going to say. And the signs are always there. Anyone who's ever committed suicide, I put that on people around them, because when you're going through a mental struggle, even when you're trying not to, there are signs. And my sisters, they're my best friends, because a lot of times, even when I don't admit things, they'll be like, yo, this is kind of off, this is kind of weird, what's going on? And then it's just like, fuck, nothing, because Sean, I know you. It's like, okay. May not say that moment, may take a few days, and then boom, you're saying something and not talking about it. So it's just like, I'll include a suicide prevention line, because I know a lot of people sometimes just don't have that person to lean on or talk to, and are in fear and worry of being judged like most people, and you just need a listening ear. Some people like myself were able to figure it out by ourselves through different things that we use as an outlet. Some people haven't figured out what the outlet is to be able to use it as an outlet, and they need someone to help guide them through their emotions to even find out what the outlet could be outside of talking to someone. So if you are suffering through something, know that you're not alone. And a lot of people are going through things that they just don't talk about. And even though I'm in a good space now and I've been able to overcome all those demons and face them at front value and forgive myself, because that's huge. Forgave myself for a lot of things that happened in my life, and then I realized how strong your mental is as far as just the energy you put out. If you're always focusing on these bad things, you're not going to get anything but bad things come to you, because the universe multiplies what you're giving it. So I had to just change my mind and just focus on the good even when things aren't going great, because it's not going great. So there's nothing you can do to change it at that moment. Like I was thinking about when you're going to be late somewhere. You could be annoying and rushing and flustered on your way to where you're getting late to, and then get there and just be irritated and just a mental mess, a hot mess because you were late somewhere. Or you can be like, fuck, I'm late. I can communicate that I'm late, but I'm still coming. Things are still going to go. Boom. So you can get, either way you're going to be late. But you can get there upset and unhappy and flustered, or you can get there in peace, because both ways you're late. So it's like when you realize things like that, that applies to so much in life. It's just like, I can't control what's going on, so why should I stress and be upset about the fact that I can't control it, or the fact that it's even happening, versus focusing on how I can fix it, what's going on to make myself happy, and boom, it's going to take care of itself. You know, and that's going to take care of, obviously you have to do things sometimes to take care of something, but when you're in a more calm mind space, it's easier to figure out a solution than when you're hot-headed and upset, is my point. And sorry this video is kind of long-winded. It's just, I feel like we need to start talking about this more. And no, I don't have all the answers, but I do want to give my little bit of wisdom to people. And I feel like that's a good start. And I feel like our society and our generation should do more. We're so vocal about all this stuff. It's like, we talk about, you know, Trump and how we hate Ye and all this stuff. It's just like, but why aren't we focusing this energy on positive stuff? Like how we can help protect ourselves, but focusing on the fact that we have to better ourselves, because we live in a society that tells you not to love yourself. That should be the real focus here. So like I said, I'm going to include the suicide prevention number that my friend Raven posted today, and just open up that space where if you feel like you need someone to talk to, I'm here. Like I said, find your close friends, use the suicide prevention line, find a local therapist that maybe your insurance can help you fund if, you know, money's kind of tight. Get a journal, write things out, and most importantly, find your outlet, because when all those things can't happen, there's still to be something you can do, whether it's drawing, writing, surfing, hiking, for me, working out, cooking, whatever it is. Use that as your mental outlet. That when you do it, it's just your time to just block out the world and just take some time for yourself and just from the world and your problems. And yeah, so I hope this was helpful to some. You know, comment below and just spread some words of encouragement and positivity. And like I said, my name is Cookie. My Instagram is Cookie with 3 E's, where, you know, I try to provide the best as far as fitness knowledge and mental health knowledge and all that. I'm trying to do the best that I can. And yeah, so give it a like, subscribe, and share if you vibed, fucked with this video, whatever. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.